All right, there we go.
Perfect. So
we're doing episode. Hang on, we're doing episode 2, Three Bros
24.
podcast. As last Sunday, we only have 2 bros, but this time we are missing Chad. Last Sunday we made it explicitly clear we only had 2, and we were missing you. But this time, it is Cyril and Caleb. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, arming teachers. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward statement, right? Like, everyone is afraid of the potential for someone to attack a school. Not an outlandish fear.
Sure. So I would start with, I don't have a problem if a teacher raises their hand and specifically is motivated, wants to be armed in a concealed capacity so that they can protect the children. If they raise their hand and volunteer, sure. Why would anybody say no to that person? Like, clearly, they probably know what they're doing with guns. They probably have a background. They probably think they can help. But the idea that, and this is the problem that I have, the numbers that actually get pushed out by politicians, especially the White House, is like, 20% of teachers will just have weapons. Okay, well, are we thinking about what that means? Are we thinking about the fact that maybe a lot of those teachers don't want to? You're just like forcing a bunch of teachers. My thing is, if you have to, like, if there has to be a minimum quota of teachers at each school that like need to have weapons, that doesn't make sense if you're forcing people to have weapons when they don't want to. You know,
Right.
It just.
Well, what you're talking about is the opposite effect of what I'm fearful of, and that is the rights of people to be taken away. You can't force somebody.
No.
Right.
In both directions, you can't force somebody to not have the right, but you can't force somebody to, must do this because we need to meet our 20% of teachers in this building quota. So we need someone to train in firearms. That's ridiculous. So yeah, it's both ways.
I guess for me, when it comes down to this whole school thing, we need to start looking at what is it that, no pun intended here, but triggers a student or a former student in this past case, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it was a former,
a current student.
Right.
To say, this is a good idea. This is what I need to do.
So you want to stop him before?
Yeah, I mean, that's really...
So that's fine. So how do we do that?
Well, that's the thing, is that there needs to be a ton of research to figure out why. Because for the longest time, and I saw this headline the other day on CNN, Trump blames violent video games.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like, I think we've been over this through the 90s, Everybody blamed first violent video games, and then secondly, they blamed Eminem and Marilyn Manson. Like, at what point are we going to realize that it has nothing to do with our entertainment?
Right. Yeah, even include Eminem and Marilyn Manson. I just don't understand why we dust up these. I saw somewhere where the Kentucky governor was like, "Oh, it's, what we glorify and it's video games." I'm like, dude, can we not do this? Can we just like, can we just have a reasonable, right? Can we just have like a reasonable approach? I don't care if you are an advocate for more people having guns, less people having guns. I don't know, underground trolls having guns. I don't care. I just want to know why. And I want it to be reasonable. I don't need arguments that are like, oh, video games are like, I don't need panderers. It just doesn't help.
Well, it's the thing is that I'm not even sure that they're pandering. I think they legitimately
Sure.
That's what they believe.
And that's fine. And that's fine. And they're allowed to believe that.
They are, but you can't sit here and say that you want a sensible discussion when realistically, like, you don't.
Yeah.
Nothing here has been anything worth having a conversation about. Ultimately, to me, I think there's a Joe Rogan quote that I feel like for me sums this up a lot better, and that's, this country has a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem, and a tyranny problem disguised as a security problem. I mean, I guess the second part of that we can have a discussion later on about, but
I would agree with that second part too.
Health is such a, and I don't want to say that it's ignored, right? Because it's not, but it's not taken as seriously as it should. right? We have so many
Right.
fundraisers for cancer,
Right.
right? Because it's a disease
So
or a sickness that or an illness that affects so many people. But like, think about how many people are
right.
affected by mental illness.
Oh, there's a lot of people.
More, I would argue.
Hmm. There's a lot of people.
You
So
know,
I would ask you, what should we do?
well, I think we need to find a way to make mental health professionals more available,
Sure. How
right?
can we do that? I think if we move healthcare in a different direction, that might help a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
Sure.
argue with you there. Um,
Now, I'm being vague. I didn't really say anything specific, but um,
no,
did
but I
you did you
think
pull up
we
did you
can
pull up
come to
the
the same
website really quick?
conclusion. Yeah.
'Cause this is and we can get back on topic about guns because I did want to say one more thing and I saw it in the back of my mind. But if you can go to the platform and then go to healthcare,
Hmm.
um, I specifically don't really get to hate to use the same word twice in a sentence, but specific. I don't get specific about what the plan should be about healthcare.
Hmm.
Um, I specifically, and I go out of my way to say that it just shouldn't be running profits, right? Like we should understand, I believe, and I think a lot of people can agree with this, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on. We shouldn't, if it's a sector of the economy that deals with people who, yes, sometimes are sick because they are POSs, but also sometimes are sick not of their own choice. And if we're dealing with a life or death situation and people's lives actually depending on this sector of economy, it should be nonprofit. I don't know that we should be profiting off of people's health. I don't know that it does a great service. Um, one, to the people inside that system, which is
Hmm.
us, and two, um, I think that when you emphasize or when you make not emphasize, but when you make profit a part of the healthcare game, costs are always going to be higher than they should be because the everybody knows that when bottom lines get squeezed, they get squeezed from the bottom up. So they're going to increase costs on stuff. They're going to keep raising, and we've had this discussion before. I know it's a give and take with the insurance company too. I understand that, but it doesn't feel like that has reined it in well enough. You know what I'm saying? It's gotten so out of control that I don't want to. I don't. Not that I don't want to hear that argument, but it's a tough argument for me to hear because, like, why hasn't it reined it in? You know, I'm going off on a tangent, but the point of that in every part of the platform is that there's no specific plan. There's just a. You said before, and I liked what you said. There's a lot that we can agree on where we want to end up. It's just how we get there we might disagree on, and that's all right. You know,
Yeah.
as long as we can work it
Well,
out.
I
So
think
yeah.
anytime you have any sort of discourse, we need to be coming
Mhm.
from the same place, right? Here's the
Mhm.
problem. Here's where we would like to be, or here's the direction we should head. Now, if you can start, if
Mhm.
we can agree on something, that's a starting point.
Yeah, of
You
course.
know,
Oh, for
so I
sure.
think both of us agree that school shootings is a bad idea. It's a bad thing to have happen.
Yeah.
Um, we may disagree on
And
why it happens,
yeah.
but we can at least start with that kind of dialogue. And I know that's really vague, and everyone agrees with that statement, but you have to start from
No,
somewhere.
but it's right, yeah. And I was gonna say, going back to the original um subject, I I I personally think that gun laws are kind of like a lot of um parts of the government that can if be more can be trimmed down and still run better. And that's if you kind of streamline everything, especially in this day and age. Like use the tools you have to streamline everything um, for a background check
Hmm.
and make that a simple process or as simple as it can be. Um, and then that's it, you
See,
know,
I
and
wonder.
sure.
I want to get away from the actual gun debate itself, and I want to talk specifically about mental health and the value of young men in our society today.
Okay. So
And I might run off a little crazy
sure,
tangent here, but
sure. Go ahead.
there may be something comparable to, and I hate to make this comparison because the group I'm about to compare to is, quite frankly, in my opinion, just outright evil. But what's happening in Middle Eastern countries, in places or organizations like Boko Haram, ISIS, the Taliban, you name it.
Mhm.
And what I've noticed, at least for me in my personal experience, is that what type of person, what type of human is attracted to an organization like that? And for me, it breaks down pretty simply, and that is, generally speaking, we're talking about males, young
Mhm.
males, who have no um, life
Opportunity?
experience and no
Or
opportunity.
sure.
So when you look at a young man, let's say 19 years old, who looks at his life currently and says, "I have no value, I am
Mhm.
not worth anything," it makes it easier for that person to burn it down, burn the system down, to go after, in this example, to shoot up a school, or in other examples, to be a suicide bomber. And I think, to me, that's where the a large crux of these problems as a society comes from. When you left high school and your girlfriend broke up with you, you were in college and your girlfriend broke up with you, you don't feel valuable at all. Or let's take it a step farther and say you can't even get a girlfriend, or you can't even talk to girls, right? Because a
Sure.
large part of your life at that stage is dealing with the opposite sex.
Sure.
And I wonder how much that plays into this
So
ability to just ignore all and devastate destruction anywhere.
I just wonder what you want to do about it. That's fine. If that's an issue that you think is persisting and that is causing a lot of the the world grief, if you will, especially when you name
Well,
Boko Haram and
again,
ISIS. So
right, again, those are
sure.
pretty large examples. But what I notice a trend throughout our world, not just here in our country,
Mm.
but the whole world, is that young men are susceptible to very dangerous ideas, and those ideas, I think, are.
Is that a new phenomenon with young men?
No,
I
no, I
don't
don't
think it
think
is.
so. I don't
Okay.
think so. But what I'm specifically getting at now is that
Mhm.
if you look at the way, and again, I'm going to sound probably like a horrible person because I don't know how to articulate this stuff well,
Mhm.
but if you look at the recent rise of feminism and you look at different stats like who is more educated, what types of people have, whatever those things are, advantages or disadvantages, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera, it almost seems like young white males who go through a public school system, who are not athletic, who are not, you know, above average in intelligence. Like, where does that leave you? You're literally another face in the crowd, I think. And there's nothing to value there because there's so many of you, that same type of you. And it's the same thing with
But
young men
but
across the entire world. And it used
but
to be you would get out of high school, right? You would either get yourself, and I say used to be, but forgive how I'm putting this, but you would get out of high school and you would either go to college or you would get a trade job or you would work in a factory, and then you would be able to have an income and meet a girl and buy a house. Or if you want to go farther than that, you would be a farmer or you would be a factory worker, or you know what I mean? And your self-worth and your value was tied to how you made money or how you survived. And in today's world, there's it's too easy to stay at home and do nothing and have a shit job and not be able to talk to a girl and have zero self-worth whatsoever.
okay,
So
okay,
hold on. So
sure.
the first thing that unhinges you, you're susceptible to an idea that's pretty outlandish.
All I was gonna say is why is that? That's all.
I I don't know. I'm not a psychologist.
Sure.
I've never studied anything like that, but I feel like there's something to be said for that idea. And you're right.
Opportunity.
It's not specifically.
Lack
No,
of
I
opportunity.
I don't know if it's lack of opportunity. I think it's
It
more
is.
um idea of self-worth. Are you worth anything?
Okay, but I get people complaining to me, especially in the banking world, all the time. Oh, these kids think they're everything. They think they're wonderful. So
Right.
so
Right, right. And as
okay.
soon as one terrible thing happens, what happens to those kids? Do you think they can handle that
They're
that type of
fine.
devastation?
Yeah, they're human beings. They'll
I don't
deal
think
with it.
I don't
And you
think
know
so.
what? If they don't handle it well, they learn from it and they become adults.
Or
I just don't buy into this
very rarely,
fear not fear mongering, but I just don't buy into this like demonizing of like I've never have of like generations. Like they go through
that's not what
shit.
I'm
That's what
saying
happened.
though. No,
Sure.
I
Go
get
ahead.
that. I get that. But what I'm
Okay.
saying is that
Sure.
in this generation specifically, we also have other things that factor into
Hmm.
differently, right? For
Sure.
example, take anxiety medicine or depression medication. It can literally put you completely out of sorts. You can be completely out of touch with reality. We
Yeah.
haven't had that in last generations upon generations. That never existed until now.
What didn't exist? Being
Like
drugged?
anxiety medication and depression medication and things like that. Like we don't entirely understand the effects it has on our brain or on our personalities for that matter.
But you we know that they were invented to help things that were already persisting that were negative in society. So if negative comes from what already was negative, because these people are being treated because they already are like not well in the mind. So if
Hmm.
they continue to be not well in the mind, I
But what
don't
I'm saying is
know.
if
Sure.
you're not well in the mind, let's say you have
Mm,
depression, you can
yeah.
acknowledge that you are depressed. When you
Sure.
take this medication, I think that some of the side effects is you aren't able to acknowledge what the hell is actually going on inside your mind
Mm-hmm.
to some degree, right? I'm not saying that you take
Mm,
this and you become a zombie. What I'm saying is
sure.
we don't understand the potential effects of these medications.
Okay.
What I'm
Sure,
arguing
but
is
what if that?
potentially
Sure. Yeah.
when you have young men who have nothing else to live for, or that's the perception, and then you start taking prescribed medication, whether it
So
was actually done
sure.
to you legally or not, there's a potential for risk there of somebody becoming
Sure.
unhinged, right?
I how many young men are taking antidepressants? Um, is a good question for this, and I don't know if it's so widespread. Obviously, I don't know either, but I, you know, if a lot of this hinges on because like a lot of them are taking, these pills, I just don't know how many of them are doing that. You know,
So
I
let's
just
see here.
sure,
This is I'm just
sure.
doing a like
Oh,
Google,
sure, sure.
menshealth.com,
Mm.
and again, I feel like I should take that with a grain of salt.
You're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
Um, let's see here.
I at least want to know what someone says.
Never mind.
Some
I'm not
sort.
gonna do that one.
Okay.
Because Men's Health is one of those
Now
sites
I'm
where you have to
afraid of.
subscribe to
Oh,
unlock content,
oh,
and
okay.
I'm not subscribing. So let's see here. This one's a New York Times blog.
We could fund the government to do these studies, which would be nice. I'm sure they do somewhere.
I think they do.
I sure hope so.
23% of
Hmm.
college students, up from 9%
Are
less
taking
than a decade ago. Yep,
anti. Okay.
almost a quarter by the time they get to
Hmm.
college.
So okay, and that's fair. That's higher than I would think it is.
That was higher than I
But
thought it
but
would
but
be.
but don't we also? And this is why when Charlottesville happened last summer,
Hmm.
you know, people can get fired up, but I really just don't worry about it because don't you think a little bit of this is that and by the way, if you haven't seen how effective these terrorists are with propaganda on Twitter and these things, they're extremely effective. So I think that the connectivity of the world also drives very small, extremely small, tiny populated niches of people can gather no matter where you are on the internet. And that's how you get, 200 to 300 people that show up at Charlottesville acting like a bunch of buffoons. But that's only 200 to 300 people acting like buffoons. There's people from Ohio and Georgia and Tennessee. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I just don't think that's a big deal. I think that if you want to eradicate hate in society, then you're gonna die an unhappy person.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean we shouldn't try, but so I feel like another reason, the mental health thing, especially with the antidepressants number, then that makes me definitely wonder why. I mean, it's not like we always had antidepressants. I guess even compared to 10 years ago, it's gone up. So I don't know. I'm super intrigued as to why that is. But
I
I
mean,
also think that the
I'm not
connectivity
saying.
of things, drives,
Mhm.
you know.
I'm also not saying that we can't talk about the gun control debate, right? That's obviously
Oh, of
something that
course not.
still needs to talk about.
Oh,
But
sure.
I find it interesting
No,
and I
but that's
find
a
it
that's a fascinating
fascinating
topic for sure.
how
Yeah.
many young men do you think are struggling with self-identity, with a
Yeah.
sense of purpose? And I quite frankly, I think that that's
Sure.
something that young men face all over the world.
I think
I don't think it's
young.
exclusive to
Mhm.
America by any stretch of any
Sure.
imagination.
I think that that's always happened, and I think that once again, the numbers that you cited, that's um, that's definitely something to look into. That was something I didn't know, and could be a variable. But for me, still the biggest variable is young men have always been searching for their identity, and now it's easier to just link up with anybody in the world, anybody in the country, in a snap of a finger.
hmm
Um,
But it's also on
especially,
the other side of that though. It's also with the snap of a finger, you're able to compare yourself against other people. And let's be honest, if you compare yourself against what you see, you're not what you see. You never will be, most likely.
sure, but then that assumes critical thinking in everybody and being able to challenge their reality and challenge their beliefs, and a lot of people do not do that. Um, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of variables that goes into making a person who they are, for sure. It's
hmm
not black and white at all, but um, your environment and wanting to be a part of a community plays a huge role, regardless of what community you're a part of. It doesn't matter. We can go back in history and find communities for every that glorified every dang thing. And people just because it was, you know, culture is a big deal, for a reason. So I don't know that just because you can easily compare yourself means that people are open to doing so. I don't think so. Not on a large enough scale.
See, I feel
Um,
like I slightly disagree with you. I think there's a
I
lot
hope
of
so. I
young
hope you're
men out
right.
there that are.
I hope you're right. I sure hope so. And maybe you are right because, like I said, only 200 to 300 people showed up for a hate-filled rally that nobody should have showed up for. In my opinion, you're never going to get to zero. So 200 to 300 on the whole East Coast, that's pretty damn good. You know.
Well,
So
when we get into
yeah.
that discussion too, I'd rather have that out in the open as opposed to
What out in
hiding
the
in
open?
the dark corners of the internet. People's true selves, because then we could talk
Oh, for
about it.
sure.
We can see
Yeah.
it. We can pull
I
somebody
I
aside and say, "Hey, what do you believe? Why do you believe what you believe? There's a reason for it,
absolutely.
right?"
That's exactly what I want to do with this interview thing. That's why I think that
Yeah.
can actually take off and be a revenue driver, and I can do a lot of cool things with. That'd be awesome.
It would
I
be
think I
ignorant to
think
think,
I
right?
think that I'm the kind of
Not a
person
reason.
that would be fascinated by interviewing one of those marchers from Charlottesville one day, and the next day be just as fascinated interviewing someone from the far left areas of Antifa that shatter windows and do dumb stuff. In my opinion, I wouldn't. I if I sat down with them back to back, I would just ask them why they think they do. I'm not in it to criticize people. I don't care. It doesn't matter why you think the way you do. First of all, we live in a country that you can, as long as you're not harming other people and breaking the law. Yeah, you can live within whatever ideals you want to live within. But it just fascinates me as to why people choose to believe the things they do, because we all have morals, right? Like when I hear about someone who's a white supremacist, that appalls me. But it doesn't for a lot of people, and a lot of people know that most people are appalled by that, and they still are a part of that faction. Why? Like
Well,
that's fascinating.
I think that's a
you
two-pronged
know?
thing as well.
Sure.
I'll bet you anything genetics have
Yeah.
something to do with it, as well
I
as personal experience.
I think so.
I
I
think there's a
mean,
combination
we
of
don't know what the hell we're talking about too, so I mean, you can't discredit anything. But
no,
yeah,
no,
I
no,
think
but
I
you
think
can
you're right.
sit here though and say that genetics don't play a part of that,
No, I think that's ridiculous. Sure.
as well as personal experience.
Well,
For
I
all you
fully
know,
believe that genetics can make you predisposed to certain things for sure.
absolutely. Just like it can make you predisposed to have a thyroid condition or to have,
Yeah,
you know,
makes sense to me.
um, Alzheimer's later in life. Like
Sure,
it probably can do things to your personality and your thought processes as well.
sure. I believe that.
Yeah, I honestly think that there will be a day at some point,
Mm,
probably pretty soon. I mean, you can already get your DNA tested, and it can tell you a lot about yourself.
it can.
But I think that as science gets better and better, you'll be able to have a DNA test that will tell you every single thing that you may be predisposed to. And the advantage to that would be like you would be able to identify if you're getting close potentially to a thought or a situation or an action, and you would
Sure.
be able to kind of stop yourself prematurely from getting to a given point. Like for example, if you know you're predisposed to, let's say, Alzheimer's, right? You can continue to do brain games throughout your entire life to try to combat the onset
Right.
of
Right.
Alzheimer's
Or
disease,
whatever
as well
is
as
developed
if
by then. Sure.
right,
Like,
as well as if,
what if they invent a pill that if they know you're susceptible to Alzheimer's, you can take from like when you're super young, and it'll, there you go. So,
I don't even know. I mean, if we get to
well,
that
I'm just
point,
just
if
bl-
we
just throwing darts
understand,
at a
yeah,
wall.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah, it
guessing.
might be a pill. I think it'll be, genetic engineering. Where you'll be able to, okay, we can
Sure.
we can actually remove that
Sure.
gene and put in the gene that says no, you don't get Alzheimer's.
That's
You know
fair
what I
enough.
mean? Like that's where I imagine that we would be, but I don't know.
All
That's kind
right,
of
let me
a
ask you,
juicy
because
topic.
I did want to get to bed by 10:30. So,
Lame.
oh, now I just tossed that into the. Nobody's gonna listen to this anyways. Maybe someday. Um, can you just read the about us and just.
Yeah, no, I did.
Oh,
Actually, I
you
went
did?
to
Okay.
platform. Sorry, not about us.
Oh, sure.
That's
Yeah, that's why I chucked it in the text group earlier, so you guys could just click on it because it's mobile friendly. Come on now.
no, I know, and I'll test it on the mobile. But I was for some reason on about us when you first go to
Sure.
Unified,
Mm.
it's not the about us. Like it was two foundational elements.
Oh,
And
now
then
it is. I think.
thirteen.
Well, today I
Right.
did a little bit more work.
So
Correct.
I went straight from there to
I figured
platform,
a, I
assuming that
figured a,
that's what you wanted me to read.
I figured a button there was helpful because people can click about us if they want. Roll down a little bit. Um, I obviously took all the pictures down. They were ridiculous. I didn't mean for them to stay up, but I'm definitely gonna take a fresh picture of myself in a suit because I need to. Shit's about to get real. So it's not about to get that real, but um,
I mean, I would like, you would think hopefully one
yeah.
day.
Oh, no. What I mean by that is this. And if you can read the about us in the meantime, that'd be great. Just tell me if you think anything should be changed or.
Yeah, for sure. I think
What I'm gonna do is the same thing I said I was gonna do a month and a half ago. Just ask if people would be open to it or not, and that's the first thing I'm gonna do.
mhm.
Go around for 2 months, do that, maybe even a month if it's not really being received that well. So Saturday is the first time I'm going out. I gotta work, so I already be dressed nice, rolling out from work and doing it for a few hours. And I swear to you, my goal is to just get one person to be open. If I get one person that says, "Yeah, I'd be open to," not even me, but just like a third party candidacy, and I can just hand them the card, it's gonna feel pretty effing good. So I'll let you know how it goes.
I think you'll get more than that.
I'm inclined to agree with you down the road, but these things don't just start out great, and I'm trying to keep that my mindset there, you know?
See, that's where I would
Sure.
be like, I'll bet you're gonna get like two, right? You're gonna be like, wow, that's
There you
that's a
go.
that's a
I'd be
hundred
super fired
percent
up with
more
that.
than I thought I was gonna
Yeah.
get,
No,
right?
and that's true.
But then
That's
where you're
true.
gonna get crushed is the second time you do it, and you have none. That's when you're gonna get crushed.
That's when
I
you
don't think
gotta
it's gonna
just
be day
nah, you
one.
just
It'll
gotta
be
keep
day two and
your
three when you'll be
you just
like,
gotta keep
fuck,
your head up.
nobody wanted to talk to me.
So
I'm
so
preparing you for an alternate
oh,
reality here.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. At the end of the day, I don't care if there's a cascade of no's the whole time. Well, no, that's not true because then nobody will actually um, get like a card or a flyer, which is key. But at the end of the day, nobody's winning anything. Jesus Christ, that's not what it's about. I think at the end of the second cycle, when I go back to specifically the houses that said they were open to it, even if it's 10 houses, I'm hoping that I get at least 2 or 3 people that would be willing to sit down and just converse about who they are and what they believe and what their viewpoints are and what issues bother them these days. Um, and the whole point of it is just to listen to them. I'm just asking, oh, well, why do you believe that? Or, why do you think it would be this way or that way? That's all I'm there for. I think that would just be fascinating. To be able to do that on a large scale would be super effing awesome. But
Yeah, I
one day
don't
at a
know
time.
about a large scale. That might not be
One
really
day at a time.
plausible.
Why wouldn't it be plausible? It'd be
A lot.
awesome.
That's a ton of time.
It absolutely is.
And
It absolutely
the
is.
reason why specifically more so I feel like it just won't be as plausible is because if you break it down, like most people have availability on the weekends,
Sure.
right? Let's say there's how many
But
people do you think are
who
in your
cares?
district? 10,000?
Oh, you mean specifically here?
Yeah.
There is 190 something thousand, something like that.
And
Or
let's just say 10% of those people want to sit down and talk to you. That's a big number,
yeah, that's probably too high.
which is why
It's a and
it's just a
it's
lot.
probably
That's
like
all I'm
one. It's
saying.
probably like 1%, which is fine. Which is still a lot of people because it's got to be people that are active enough, that care enough, to follow it just enough, to have.
Right.
Because most people aren't going to be just
Well, I mean,
be comfortable with talking about something that. Look, we're just throwing darts. I'm just throwing darts at the wall. It's gonna sit here and discourage me. Then I'm just kidding.
I'm not
No,
discouraging
I
you,
know,
right?
I know,
I'm
I know.
saying
That's
let's
fair.
because I feel like
Yeah,
what's going to happen
sorry.
specifically is that you're gonna be super stoked, right? You're gonna get a couple people here and there, and then it's gonna get to a point
Definitely.
where you're like, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna continue this momentum because that's the hard part,
Hmm.
right? Keeping that momentum into an election cycle. So that's where I think you
How
also need to
how
start thinking
how how
futuristically.
don't I know how to keep the momentum? I don't. I'm not
I'm not saying
following.
you don't know how. I'm saying it's
Sure.
hard. So what's your
So.
plan? Let's say you talk
Mm.
to a bunch of people,
Oh,
you're
sure.
moving on, stuff is going, and you decide you're going to run for office, right? When's this election?
It's in November.
Okay, how do you keep that momentum going all through the summer, all into fall? What do
Oh,
you do?
that's
What's your game plan? You can't tell me you haven't thought about this in the back of your head. I'll just flat out call
no,
you a
because I
liar.
don't don't care because that's
But
not
you
the
do
point.
care because that's
No, I
if
don't.
you didn't care, you
There.
wouldn't be knocking on doors. Let's start from reality here.
Yes, I would because I want to talk to people. Literally, that's it. It's a really simple idea. Not even an idea. I like talking to people. I like meeting people.
That's
I'm
fair.
fascinated as to why they are the way they are, and those are the conversations I want to have. If I could just start knocking on doors, and I probably could, and just soliciting people for that, I would do that. But I don't know that that's the right way. And I've said this from the beginning. I don't know that's the right way to go about this. I don't. I think people will be really off put by that. They'll be like, I don't really know what's going on. What are you asking me? So I think it's just good to just fuck it, just run for an office. Who cares? I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to win. I do not care. I do not care. I just want to start talking to people. And the excuse to knock on their door is that, oh, hey, I'm running. But by the way,
Sure.
it's always been that. So yeah, I really don't care. The momentum is just keep knocking on more doors. There's not enough. I'm not going to be able to knock on them all. So
Have you,
there's,
by the way, have you ever looked into
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
other methods of reaching out to people as well?
Yes.
Like
And I've talked about, like what? Go ahead. What's in your mind?
like I've always wanted to go to and I've never like made the time
Sure.
to do it, but go to like I know at Barnes and Nobles in the Grease Ridge Mall they have like like book clubs, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And they have a history book club, and I'll bet you anything there's a
Yeah.
guy in there that's more than willing to talk to you about
Yeah.
exactly what you want to talk about,
I absolutely agree. Um,
And I don't know
there's
if you've
no there.
considered things like that as well.
Absolutely, I have.
Okay.
Look, my where I'm going to be in my zone is on campus because they're younger people. A lot of them have things to say, especially these days. So, um, that's where I don't think I'm going to be hurting to find someone to have a conversation with. But more than that, not really that because everyone's going to want to say something. More than that, um, try to establish a foothold of people who actually go to the site and sign up. That'd be great. The more people that actually do that, the better. Um, so I would say yeah, there's been way too much emphasis. Maybe not even emphasis. Just a lot of the discussion in the text group has been knocking on doors. But no, that's not even the biggest part of it. That doesn't matter. I could literally go to a festival and walk around and just be like, "Hey, I'm running. I'm ready to do that. I've been looking up festivals. Like I could just walk around and just be like handing out my card, like, "Hey, I'm running for office, third party." Obviously not that demotivated, but you know what I'm saying? Just walk
Right,
around
right.
and shake hands and tell people I'm running and be like, "Hey, I'm running. Are you planning to vote in this? Do you live in this district? Oh no, I don't even live here. All right, no problem. Well,
Yeah.
are you planning to? Oh, I do. Okay. It's not. This stuff isn't that hard.
No, 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 it's not. But I don't
Right.
know. We went to the
What's
Destiny
hard is
USA
actually
Mall
getting
the other day.
people. What's hard is actually knowing if I'm entertaining or not. If it's actually going to work out. It could be terrible. Who knows? you know, you never know. Maybe I
Alex
get
and
too
I,
fired up or not too fired up.
right.
I don't know.
Alex and I
So
took the girls to Destiny USA. You know what that is?
sure. Destiny is a beach in Florida on the Panhandle.
Destiny USA is a giant mall in
Mm.
Syracuse.
Oh, sure. I didn't know that.
Yep, it's a pretty big mall. Anyway, that's
Sure.
neither here nor there. What I thought was pretty cool is that there was a couple of dudes just hanging out at the mall with a chessboard, with playing chess, and they had a sign
Sure.
it said anyone up for a game, and it was just
Yeah.
an open invitation to come sit down and play.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool, and I was
That is
wondering
kind of cool.
maybe you could replicate something like that.
I've thought about that too. Now I would ask you because I could tell you what I've already thought about on that path. Do you have anything specific in mind? Because the problem becomes if it's about politics and about me running for an office, how do you open that? What do you write on that board to open that conversation? I've thought about buying like
I feel
an
like you could
easel and
do.
sticking like a whiteboard on it on a sunny day where a lot of people walk and just writing on there, "Let's talk politics." I've thought about that. I absolutely have.
Okay, I think I may have something for you right here.
Sure.
Hopefully, it's
Mhm.
just a sign that says I'm running for local office. Tell me anything.
There you go. Even just I'm running for local office, I think would grab enough people's attention. I think it would. All you need is a few throughout
Or
the
you could
day.
do it. You could do it
This isn't rocket science. Yeah.
what's that guy's name that you don't really like, or maybe it's Chad really doesn't
Look,
like
this
it.
isn't rocket
Steven,
science.
hold on,
You
Steven
try to
Crowder.
you try to make enough Stephen. Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
Is that his name?
Yeah, Chad showed me him. Change my mind or whatever he writes on
Bro,
his.
I'm running as a third party. Change my mind.
Wait, what?
Bro, that would be your sign.
I don't
Running
know
as a
if
third
anybody.
party candidate. Oh,
I
you
think
don't know.
most people are. I think most people don't like the two parties. I think if
I think
you
that's the whole
sure
point. Is that no one's going to disagree with you.
right. So then where is the conversation? Why would they start a conversation with me if
Well,
they
hey,
already agree
listen,
with
if you
me?
agree that we should
Mhm.
have third party, listen, I'm running as a third party.
yeah. No, yeah, I'm gonna play with a lot of things. Um, it'll be a lot of fun. Definitely will be.
All right, I'm going to let you go because you want to be in bed.
I also think that